I just wanted to say that I do not condone these actions and that I do not support this type of violent protest. Thank you.
Yo! Fucking own, bitch!
Hello, and welcome to another Jay's Politics blog podcast, part of the Podcast 99 Internet Radio Network. Today is a Thoughts by Jay segment, specifically about what happened this weekend in Portland with Andy Ngo. And I just have to be blunt. I make no secrets about my feelings for Antifa or anybody associated with Antifa as an active member of it. They're a bunch of cowards who have no standing in society. What I mean by that is that if they're so proud of what they do, that they're fighting the quote-unquote good fight, then they shouldn't have to hide themselves. Oh, but fear and reprisal from the companies, etc., the people they work for, etc., etc. If you can't stand behind your words and your actions as a person, then you really don't have any standing in society as far as I'm concerned. You consider yourself above the law and attack an innocent bystander. Now, I say innocent bystander for the simple fact that he was reporting on the protests, which he does regularly. Andy Ngo is a political science major and is currently working with Quillette, which is why he gets labeled as a right-wing reporter or right-wing journalist. And it is sad to see that we are more concerned with a woman saying that she's been ravished by Trump in the mainstream news than we are with the fact that a Vietnamese American gay reporter is assaulted by the people that are supposed to be there to protect him, that are supposed to be speaking out for his rights against, his rights against those of a cis white hetero male such as myself. And it is literally just boggles my mind. Now, everybody's been inundated with the story. I'm not going to go too much into detail on it. There are several people that have made videos about it. Several people that are actually friends of Andy's below. I'm going to link their videos. I'm going to link as much information as I can. But what I wanted to cover is actually the news coverage of this. Now, I've done a Bing search, and I've also done a Google search. I've looked at the Wall Street Journal's opinion piece. That's this right here. It is a video. It's not an actual thing. And I've also pulled up the Oregon Live, or basically the Oregonians, website here. So, as you can see, if you consider the Wall Street Journal as mainstream media, they're the second one on the list. But if we're going to talk about like ABC and whatnot, it takes 4. And that's with an update to my search. I've just been running this for a couple hours now, trying to figure out how I wanted to approach this topic. But the first time that I was doing this, and I will probably try to include some of that video in here, or at least at the end of my video showing what I originally saw. But as you can see, There's not a lot here. The Hill. Most of these would be considered, out, um, alt-right media sources or conservative sources. And it's sad, and I actually agree with Senator Cruz here that more people need to be held accountable for the attacks, and that if it's true that the police were not helping Andy or the other gentleman that was assaulted with a crowbar. Now, again, I don't know the full story on the gentleman that was assaulted with a crowbar. He could have instigated something. If you're foolish enough to instigate something, then you reap the consequences. But in all honesty, the fact that, we get these... Here, I'll even refresh this one here, just to see if anything changes. Nothing changes. And the fact that they call Andy a right-wing writer. And I will go over this story as well a little bit. It is literally just a bunch of cowards, and I'm just so frustrated with it that I know people that in the past support Antifa, and I hope they don't anymore, because Antifa has just become a bunch of hooligans that pretty much own Portland. I have family that lives in Oregon, and I have to drive through Portland to go visit them. Or I can go clearly out of my way and around Portland and get into the state by other means. But I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't feel scared to walk through any city. I shouldn't feel scared to drive through any city in this country to go visit my family in another part of the state of that city. And the fact that, people are okay with this, it just boggles the mind. So, let's go over this. Let's just go over the basic story here. On Saturday, there were protests from Antifa that were counter-protesting the Proud Boys. Say what you want about the Proud Boys. I don't know enough about them. I hear on one side that they're, on the left-hand side that they're a terrorist organization. On the FBI side of things, they're not. It's one of those things. Until I can do more research on my own for the Proud Boys specifically, I'm not going to label them one way or the other. But the fact that Antifa seems to go out of their way to counter-protest and cause violence against this group just shows that they don't care about people. They don't care about anybody. They just want to make themselves feel big. And I just can't get over it. So, the Oregonian. Picture of Andy Ngo. And this is done by Cale Williams. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler and the city's police force have come under criticism after the attack on conservative writer at dueling protests Saturday. Despite a large showing, the left-wing protesters showed up in hundreds while the right-wing demonstrators showed up only in a few dozen. Saturday featured only a few isolated flashpoints of violence. Still, one of them has garnered outsized attention, with many in the conservative circles condemning the mayor and police for perceived inaction in the face of the violence. Here's the thing. The fact that the police did not stop the people from attacking Andy once it got out of hand shows me that the police are unwilling to intervene in dealing with the Antifa. If they're unwilling to intervene with the Antifa, then they've lost their credibility as public servants and their credibility to defend the public. Because that is their number one priority. And as far as it being outsized attention, I'm sorry. But the fact that they attacked somebody that, again, as of the recording of this, it was an innocent bystander just filming a public demonstration. Get over yourselves. Learn to write without your bias in it. Andy Ngo is a right-leaning provocateur. He's not a provocateur. He's a political science major that actually does journalism better than most journalists these days. With online news and opinion outlet Quillette, which identifies Ngo as an editor and photojournalist, went to the left-wing demonstration around noon on Saturday. Around 1:30, Ngo was attacked by a group of masked individuals who kicked, punched, and threw milkshakes at him. He quickly left the scene and was admitted to a local hospital, he said on Twitter. Yeah, because, this is the sign of people who respect others, especially minorities. I'm sorry, my own bias is kicking in here, and I'm not ashamed of it, because this is how cowards act. And yes, there are cowards on the right, don't even get me started, that have to attack people and jump them. But the pictures he posted after the attack show cuts and bruising to his face and neck, as well as what appears to be remnants of milkshake coating his hair and clothing. An Oregonian/Oregon Live reporter caught the attack on video, though the video doesn't show what precipitated the attack, which is true. And that being said, short of Andy actually making a threat of violence, doesn't warrant it. And I will show a video of this later. I don't want to steal the Oregonian's video here. Police were lined along the perimeter of the park before the attack, but no one intervened to break up the fight. Late Saturday, police reported that 3 people had been arrested, including 1 for assault, but it is unclear if that person had anything to do with the attack on Ngo. Within hours, the footage of Ngo's beating had spread far and wide on the internet, racking up more than 1 million views on Twitter alone. Senator Ted Cruz of Texas weighed in, calling for a federal investigation into the actions of both the mayor and the police. Ted Cruz is right. These civil servants, these people that have sworn to uphold and protect the people with the law, failed in their dealings. So, and just because one has been arrested for assault, doesn't mean that makes it all of a sudden okay. I mean, the amount of buffoonery here, in the writing here, Kale, is just literally garbage. You have to write with such a bias. Ted Cruz's tweet: "To federal law enforcement, investigate and bring legal action against a mayor who has, for political reasons, ordered his police officers to let citizens be attacked by domestic terrorists." He has no... To be honest, he's got a point. The FBI considers Antifa domestic terrorists. Neither the Portland Police Bureau nor a spokeswoman for the mayor, Ted Wheeler, immediately responded to requests to comment on Sunday, but there was no evidence that Wheeler ordered the police to let citizens be attacked, end quote. That's the problem. In the past, he has told the police to stand down and not engage with Antifa. So he has a history of doing this. So why are we not free to say that? Now, if he came out and said, if he clearly came out and told the police, do not back down, and they still chose to do that, then I would grant Mayor Wheeler a pass on this, because he did what he's told to do. But it is what it is. Richard Grenell, the United States ambassador to Germany, said he contacted the Justice Department to look into the matter. I have asked the Justice Department to investigate the incident in Portland. I can't just sit by and watch my friend be brutally attacked. In his previous tweet, this was a premeditated attack on somebody because intolerant radicals don't like that Andy happens to be gay, Asian, and conservative. They target him publicly before their protests. Mayor Ted Wheeler knew this was coming, and the people of Oregon must speak up today. The attack was widely condemned by prominent national reporters as well, who viewed the incident as an affront to the free press. Antifa regular Jake Tapper from CNN. Antifa regularly attacks journalists. It's reprehensible. Jim Ryan. First skirmishes I've seen. Didn't see how this started, but Mr. Andy Ngo got roughed up. Ngo's writing, often labeled as opinion when published in the mainstream outlets, has been controversial. An opinion piece he wrote for the Wall Street Journal last year about his experience visiting London's Muslim communities was widely panned as racist and Islamophobic. Funny, I thought only white people could be racist. In a response to the op-ed published by Business Insider, London resident Alex Locke called the piece cowardly, race-baiting, and said that Ngo engaged in a weak attempt to skew facts and promote fear of Muslims. An article he published in the New York Post questioned the veracity of the reports of hate crimes against gays, transgender people that spread in Portland earlier this year. Ngo called alleged hate crimes hoaxes and a move his critics say put vulnerable people in danger. Ngo is regularly a fixture at the protests in Portland, where he often live streams the events, which every journalism outlet should be doing, if not live streaming to their own YouTube, Twitter, etc., through their own networks, i.e., what is it, K2 News there in Portland? King 5 for Seattle, Como 4, Cairo 7, etc., with an unbiased leaning, but we can't do that. On a Sunday morning show, CNN media reporter Brian Stelter said the attack on Ngo should be called out as unacceptable, even for critics of the conservative writer's works. Brian Stelter's tweet: while the demonstrations on Saturday did feature a few isolated flashes of intense violence, aside from Ngo's attack, the number of protesters engaged in a bloody street brawl later that day. Police declared a civil disturbance before protesters dispersed. The event was still more peaceful than the riots that plagued downtown Portland last summer. On August 9th, police fired flashbang grenades, pepper balls, and other riot control devices at large crowds of left-wing protesters. One person was hospitalized with a traumatic brain injury, while the other with third-degree burns from crowd control chemicals. Saturday's protests were declared a civil disturbance, but police stopped short of deeming it a riot. Okay. Here's the thing, and I've got these two last paragraphs to go. Whether it's a riot or a civil disturbance, or just a protest, if somebody is getting their ass handed to them, if somebody is getting the crap beat out of them, it is the police's responsibility to protect that person. Because it just has to start with one. Now, I don't know how many of you watch or listen to The Ranting Monkey, Sinatra Says, or any other conservative-leaning YouTubers, but they have all said and agreed, and I agree with them, that people are going to start, when going out in public, are going to start carrying weapons, like actual firearms. And what's going to happen when one of these Antifa kids gets shot and killed by somebody defending themselves from them? You know? What were to happen if I were to carry even a non-lethal weapon, and I discharged my weapon to defend myself, and that person dies? And I'm using non-lethal rounds because they're allergic to, say, a pepper spray or the pepper bullet. Or if I don't know that they have, weak skeletal structure, and I hit them with a beanbag in the chest, and it, punctures a lung or punctures their heart, things like that. Yeah, I'm going to feel horrible because, I want to try to use, non-lethal force. But at the same time, what's going to stop the next person from actually using full-on lethal force? What justification do they have to attack me for being a white male? What right do they have? What actual legal defense is justifiable to use against a reporter who's reporting on an event that is protected by the government, and the government didn't enact the protection that he deserved? that they are supposed to protect. No. Yes, he goes into the protests. I get that. But they are supposed to protect him if he gets in trouble. So, Assistant Police Chief Chris Davis said in a statement Saturday that the protests are difficult to handle due to their size and geographically disparate nature, but did not comment on any of the violent incidences. Demonstration events are very fluid in nature, and the management of these events is complex. Agreed. There are hundreds of peaceful free speech events in the city in a given year that do not result in violence. True. Unfortunately, today some community members and officers were injured, and we're actively investigating these incidences to hold those responsible accountable. If you get a chance to watch any of Andy Ngo's videos, this is all from him. I don't know if he got his GoPro back or not. I'm assuming by this he might have. But if they haven't, and you still have his videos, you still have his GoPro, you should probably give it back. Now, like I said, I'm really just irritated. I'm really just frustrated that people would support this group after this. People seem to think that this is okay, that it's justifiable. The only time violence is justifiable is if violence is being committed to you. And I'm sorry, words, unless they form a direct violent threat, like I am going to kill so-and-so, or I'm going to kill this group of people, do not need violence, do not require or do not need violence escalated against them. So, in all honesty, if you support Antifa after this weekend, or you boast that Andy got what he got, he got what was coming to him, consider your friendship with me over. I'm all for free speech. I'm all for people expressing their opinions. But violence does not protect free speech in this case. This is not somebody calling somebody names or misgendering somebody. This was full-on assault and battery on somebody. Tell me what he did to deserve this. And this is me doing my search online before I even recorded this. I just wanted to show here what was being shown in my initial search. Where the first, mainstream media posts were, and what was the difference between Google and Bing. Now, I personally use Bing as my main search engine. Other people use Google. I mean, it's not a big deal. But I thought I would, at least for the most part, be straightforward with this. And heading over to Google now to show you their search results. And from here, you'll see that I pull up the Oregon Live article here. And I just want to say thank you for Sinatra Says. He did point out that concrete mix, which was being mixed into the milkshakes that were tossed on people, can be highly caustic and can burn right down to the bone if not treated properly. I wish Andy nothing but the best and well-wished recovery. Thank you for watching.